Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye has friends. No, really, Jeff has friends. Jeff's friends are on this podcast. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship.
Friendship.
Welcome back to Jeff Dye's Friendship Podcast. Oh man, I'm so excited to tell you guys. We just broke this huge podcast world record. We have over 75 billion downloads in the last hour alone. Holy moly. 85 million downloads just while I was saying that sentence. Listen, this thing is blowing up. People are so happy to listen to us and talk to us. We're getting so rich, I'm going to be able to afford a lot more wrestling toys. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you so much to our Patreon subscribers. If you'd like to watch this podcast instead of just using your ears, you could also use your eyes. By watching the podcast, just subscribe at Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/Jeff Dye, and you could watch the podcast too. It's a lot more entertaining. Today's episode is a doozy. We've got Jeremy Piven. Yes, the Jeremy Piven, not a less famous person with the same name, but the Jeremy Piven from Entourage, Rugrats, Rush Hour 2, all those things and a lot more. He's been in over 100 movies. He's got a new one coming out with Snoop Dogg. But this guy is great. I met him at the Comedy Store. Well, that's not true. I was on the same show as him at the Comedy Store. And then I got to work with him in Florida, and we became pals. He is new to stand-up comedy, but that's why he's friends with me, kind of, is because he wants to learn how stand-up comedy works, and he respects the game enough that he's being teachable. You know, if this was acting, he would be like, why are you talking to me? I'll teach you. But because it's stand-up, he wants to know and he wants to learn, he wants to figure things out, and he talks about that in this episode. I was very humbled by how humble he has been about the whole process. You guys are really going to like this episode, and I'm happy to say that after having him here and hanging out with him a little bit and kicking it with Jeremy Piven, we are truly friends. He came to Austin, Texas. We did the Moon Tower Comedy Festival together, which we reference in this episode because that's when we recorded it, but he since came and it was a good time. But yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. If you, like I said, if you're a subscriber, thank you so much. If you're not, subscribe. It's easy. Go to iTunes or Patreon. We love you guys. I want to say a big fart you, which is code word for the F word, to Aaron Marsh. He stinks. And then also a big fart you to Tony Reavis. Because guess what, man? I'm kicking with Jeremy Piven now, so I'm a star. And I don't got to be humble or anything anymore. So sit back and enjoy the pod. We're in it. Jeff Dye's Friendship. Happy. Every episode makes me so happy. This one's also making me happy. I just became new friends with you. Today's guest, Jeremy Piven.
Thank you, man.
Yes. We'll also dub in a ton more applause so it sounds like it's like a live show or something.
Genius. I love that.
Yeah, it's really.
Put that on an endless loop.
The future
Just
is now.
listen to it.
Yeah, people go crazy. It's like 1,000 people clapping. Also, Tony Reavis is here as usual.
Of course, have to be.
The main man. You
Of
have to. I
course
wouldn't know how to
have
do
to
this
be.
without
I
you.
couldn't do it without it. So.
Make it sound like an
Also,
assignment.
Heel Aaron Marsh is in the house.
I was going to be nice today.
Oh, okay, good. Because you like Jeremy. That's the thing. Normally, he just says some horrific shit. That's kind of his MO.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a weird thing that he does. He's like a pro wrestler, like a bad guy.
I don't want anyone to feel defensive. I just choose weird angles on things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then we also have Jeremy's dog.
Bubba. The second
Bubba.
dog on the podcast.
He's second dog on the podcast, but if I had to choose between the dogs, this one is 1,000 times cuter.
Yeah.
Sean's not
Easily.
going to be happy to hear that.
Curious
Easily at least
about too.
1,000 times cuter.
Yeah, it's a French bulldog. How long have you had Bubba?
I've had Bubba for about a year and a half, and people thought it was very premeditated in terms of making me more approachable, that I'm capable of taking care of another living creature. But I just, I got him like maybe how one would get a Russian mail order bride. I saw a picture of Bubba, and I was like, oh my God, look at this guy. He's a blue Frenchie. He's brilliant, and I just had to have him. So there he is. His brother Jules, Jules' dad is Snoop Dogg. So somewhere in the world right now, Jules has to be stoned.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
If you think about it, yeah. So
Wait, so were you shopping for dogs, looking at pictures of dogs, or ran across the picture of the dog? And just goes,
I've always been a dog lover. So I've always. Can we talk about dogs for an hour and 16 minutes?
Yeah.
then we
Yeah, 100%.
That would be amazing.
do it.
It's
I'm
a
into
dog
that.
pat.
So my old
pass.
dog, Mister, his birth sister was Bill Maher's dog. So there was like, and I was like, I always wanted to run into Bill Maher and say that, but I guarantee he would just would care. He would not care at all. He'd be like, yeah, big deal. Our dogs came from the same litter. And I was like, yeah, but I just know that he would be like, I don't care why you're talking
You don't want
to
to
me.
see your nephew?
I actually, I'm so.
Do you think Snoop Dogg would care?
It's so funny you say that because I'm so. I am with Bubba 24/7, and he's, when I'm on set, he. As soon as he hears my voice, he falls asleep. I think, most people. And one time, I'm so afraid to leave him alone that one time, John Legend was having this last Christmas party, and I had Bubba in my hands and ran into Bill Maher. And the first thing he asked is, "Why'd you bring your dog?" So I'm thinking that Bill Maher, if you went up to him and tried to connect, I think he's one of these guys who. First of all, God bless Bill Maher, because we need more guys like him. We need that discussion. But he doesn't seem like a dog guy.
I guess he is. That's what I've been told, is that he's more of a dog guy than a people guy.
Oh, genius. So I had it completely wrong. Let's start this podcast off by getting it wrong.
Let's just start it over, and then we'll get back to that part.
I just like that I would love you to go compare notes with Snoop Dogg. Like, how's your dog? Like the idea that you two are hanging out just because your dogs are related.
Yeah, like Snoop Dogg's like, how many joints a day does your dog smoke? And you're like, 0.
You're just chilling with it. Like, why? What does your dog do? He's a dog, Snoop. I don't know what to tell you.
I have, believe it or not, a movie with Snoop coming out called All-Star Weekend, in which I play a manic, insane Steph Curry fan. And Jamie Foxx is an obsessed LeBron fan.
Okay.
And we are on our way to the All-Star Weekend. We have no money, and we're both tow truck operators in Gary, Indiana. And Snoop works with us at the tow company. And
That's
we didn't
hilarious.
even know that our dogs were brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Go fucking figure. Can you swear on this?
You can do
podcast?
whatever you want. Yeah.
Oh, good.
The
Okay.
wait, you guys have already shot that?
We've already shot it. They're editing it right now. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do you actually like the NBA?
Love it.
You love the NBA.
Love it. I mean, I'm from Chicago, so I'm a huge Bulls fan.
You like Derrick Rose or don't like Derrick Rose?
I love Derrick Rose. Listen, I love how we're all just frustrated athletes. We're going to talk about athletes now, but here we go. Here's the thing. Derrick Rose went so hard, so fast, was so brilliant. And if you talk to any physical therapist that really knows their game, they'll tell you that Derrick Rose is so explosive that his problem was landing.
Yeah.
Because he always landed in awkward spots because he would fly off his feet at these incredible angles. So unfortunately, here's a guy that should be in the prime of his life, and he's a little bit beat up. But I mean, he was the last MVP before the LeBrons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he was killing the game. And yeah, I want him to return to form. That would be great. But I'm a fan. Yeah, for sure.
I'm a big Derrick Rose fan. I like him because he's a dreamer. Like he always has all these motivational things that he would say during interviews and be like, "Why can't I be the MVP? Why can't I be the MVP?" I liked him because of that. I'm like, oh, I identify with that.
Yeah.
But then I'll talk to I love Chicago, and I know a lot of people from Chicago, and I'll be like, "Isn't Derrick Rose the best?" Because I don't keep up with it as much as most, especially Chicago Bulls fans. And they're like, "Man, fuck Derrick Rose," and you're like, "All right." I think a lot of guys in Chicago, it's a sensitive subject.
Well, it's a
He's the
sensitive
girlfriend
subject.
that let him down,
Well, it's a sensitive subject because he I don't think he was prepared for how passionate the Chicago fans are. And I think he had a couple comments saying "Hey guys, calm down. You don't know what it's like to be me and whatnot." And I just, it did turn them off, and it's too bad because he's a great player. And
What do you do when the Bulls aren't in the playoffs? Do you not watch NBA?
I just boycott. I just stay at home and cry and sob in my bathroom.
That's been me since
on my hands and
2008,
knees.
so-
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's been a long time since they were really, really great. So I love watching now. All the games are fun because not a lot is separating them, and it's nice. Steph is out for a minute, so It evens the playing field a tiny bit. So the games are really fun.
I don't enjoy the NBA anymore because of that. It's like it's the same three teams.
Yeah.
Like with the NFL, at least there's a chance. You know, like who saw the Eagles winning the Super
Right.
Bowl this year? I mean, if the Patriots had won, I wouldn't be singing this song. But in the baseball, you don't know. Nobody saw the Astros winning the World
Baseball's, different
Series.
every year, yeah.
And so, but I feel like in the NBA, like it's going to be.
It's always been streaky like
It's
this.
either
though.
Spurs, Warriors, or whatever team
Well, that's-
LeBron's
Yeah, and
on.
in the 80s,
Like,
it was
that's-
either the Celtics or the
Well, that's
Lakers.
what happens
for a
when
while.
it's a five players on a team, you know, and it's like if you have that LeBron James guy, like he can carry a team of 5.
Yeah.
Like when he did his first run to the finals, that team was terrible.
Right.
That Cleveland team was terrible.
Varejao
Yeah.
was the second best player, I
and
think.
but he, you know, and that doesn't happen in football or baseball as much.
Oh, yeah, there's too many
as much.
players.
Yeah.
I like meeting someone as talented you in show business who also likes sports. I don't feel like that's a very common. Like I know a ton of actors, a ton of comedians, and there's a very small percentage of each of those that does enjoy sports.
Well, I feel like, and I could be wrong. I mean, I'm a lot of actors are frustrated athletes. I mean,
Really?
I think so. Just because, you know, that type of discipline, mentality, and being in your body. I like to talk about myself in the third person about like Jeremy Piven's very in his body.
Jeremy Piven says.
Yeah. No. And I actually talk about it. Jeff was very kind. We performed together recently at an Olive Garden in
It's not a
Naples.
comedy club. It's literally a rich guy's seafood restaurant who put a
I was so
stage
confused
in the middle.
when you showed me where you were performing.
Yeah, actually, let's do this. I usually do it for other episodes, and I didn't do it. We started a little weird. Let me set up how I know you.
Yes.
We're new friends. We met at Marco Island. It's not Marco Island, it's Naples. It used to be
Naples.
Marco Island. Now it's Naples. Off the Hook Comedy Club. Captain Brian, the owner, and me go back for a long time, and we get along great. He's great. The restaurant is great. The food is great. Crowd's a little rough. It's the hardest gig in stand-up comedy, and I was so excited to meet you because I'm very familiar with your career. I've only seen you in real life one time, and it was like you made fun of my boss when I was like a valet guy at a hotel in Seattle, and I was like, "That's my favorite celebrity I've ever had." Like it was my favorite thing I've ever seen. Because we hated our boss, and you immediately made it feel cool the way you dealt with. Like we're like, I love the Jeremy Piven. That's the best celebrity I've ever met in my life. Whatever. And I'll share that story. But then I also enjoy that you're getting into stand up, which is like the thing I love the most in the whole world.
Yeah.
So someone I already like from TV and movies getting into the thing I love the most, and now I'm going to get to go. So I was real nervous walking in that green room, going, I don't want to not like Jeremy Piven. I don't want to ruin this if I go in there and he's like, why are you in here? I'm doing comedy. But then when I went in there, you were super nice. And I was like, this is the interaction you want to have with the person that you admire. So I was very flattered and I was glad we were able to hit it off.
Well, I didn't like you until I saw your set and I saw how talented you were.
Well,
then I was
thank you
like,
very much.
man, I would really like to pick this guy's brain. No, it was awesome. And I think, you know, thank you for being so honest. And you're obviously a man of taste because you celebrate me.
right.
You know, it's interesting because until you meet someone, you have no clue what they're going to be like. And I think, you know, after almost a decade of playing Ari Gold and then I immediately went over across the pond. By the way, if Bubba's snoring gets too
love
loud,
it.
we can move him out of here. That's
great.
Because he snores like a silverback ape, yet he's 16 pounds, which is very surreal.
The hound of
me.
Baskervilles is sleeping by me. I love it. I think it's
surreal.
cute. I just love dogs so much. He could literally be biting my leg and I'd be like, oh, look at Bubba.
That's good to know. So you don't know what someone's going to be like, and it's tough meeting people that you may have a preconceived notion of or whatever. But yeah, it's been really interesting for me because a lot of people identify, you know, me with the Ari Gold character, and you know, I'm a stage actor from Chicago and Chicago is one of these places where it's just, you know, if you ever met someone from Chicago, it's a very tight knit group of people, and we love to strike up conversations, and we're curious about other people, and we're very supportive of each other. And I come from theater where we're all very supportive of each other, so it's very interesting. That's usually the comments I get when people meet me. They're like, oh, this is not the guy I thought
Right.
he was going to be, which is very interesting to me. And I wasn't prepared, to be honest with you, because I had been, you know, a working actor, but fairly under the radar until even though I'd done 40 movies when we
Yeah, I was
started.
gonna say you've done a lot.
Yeah, but you have to understand, even had I right out of the gate played the head writer on the Larry Sanders Show,
Which is how we first knew. I knew Gary for the last like 7 years before he passed.
Oh wow,
Maybe longer. Maybe like however since 2008. So almost a decade. And I loved Gary. He was very cool to me and very good to me. And that's how I was like, dude, you were on the Larry Sanders Show. It's like that would be my crown jewel in my resume. And that's something people don't even like say to you.
Never,
like, yeah.
ever. Well, it's guys like you and people that really appreciate comedy that love that show. And now with the new documentary that Judd did, which is so incredibly brilliant and insightful. And there are moments there that
Did he have you on that? Were you on that at all?
No, but there are moments on there that I think people will watch forever in terms of just understanding spirituality, humanity. And,
Sure.
when he's sitting there in the car with Seinfeld and Seinfeld saying, isn't it a shame? Like this guy had all this new material and then he dies and he doesn't get to perform it. And Gary said, no, I think it's really important you realize it's wonderful. He had that exchange and that's enough, and he's saying that literally creating those jokes, having it come out of you is enough.
Sure.
And that's the exchange. And like Seinfeld couldn't quite get that. And it was just very interesting and also incredibly tragic that someone like Gary evolves to the point where he really gets it and then dies, and it's like, it's just really, really sad. And I was lucky enough, to spend a few years working with him right out of college and being around the greats.
I think that's why you're going to be a good stand-up comedian, a great stand-up comedian, and a very special stand-up comedian is because a lot of comics who I know and love, who are my friends, haven't delved into that. They couldn't even say what you just said in a way. So like a lot of comics are like there's a woman I watched last night who should quit comedy, but she's been doing comedy for a while. And even she was like, I was like, she got up there and she did a bunch of jokes that I thought were very pedestrian or very like, tits this and fuck that. And like, all these bros are trying to fuck each other. And it's just
Don't
like this
do her act
really
right now,
bad
Tim.
stuff. It's horrible. But in my mind, I was like, why is this what she wanted to say to a bunch of strangers? Why is that what she put down on a notebook and thought, this is what I'll offer society? Like, if you can't get to a certain level intellectually or like spiritually or in your own journey, like, then you're probably not going to be a Chappelle or a Louis, which I, probably shouldn't reference Louis for this in the next, but whatever. Those are the guys that are special because they're in touch with that. Like Gary was incredibly in touch with like those kind of things. He wasn't afraid to talk about spirit. I'm trying to do a bit right now that I'm pitching to the Tonight Show for my next appearance. And it's about Jesus. And I know that their initial reaction is going to be like, well, you can't. And I was like, no, but this is a different take on what comedians usually say about Jesus. Jesus was great. You don't have to be a Christian to realize like that was a good dude who like was full of love. And I've got this kind of like well-tuned bit about it. And I think that's what, like, even the first night we were hanging out, you were talking about those kind of like spiritual things and stuff like that I think that's what's going to make you a great comic. Comics are afraid to touch that shit most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this has been, it's such an incredible journey. And if you were to tell any comic, like, how long I've been doing it and wait a minute, you're now getting up and doing a tour, doesn't make any sense. But to me, I have such respect for the space and I've been watching it and learning for so long. And I grew up, doing sketch comedy and touring with Second City and been acting my whole life. So performance is in my blood. And I've been, guys like you have been so great to me. And, I think that you guys see that I really respect it.
Yeah, you're taking it serious.
Yeah. And so I feel like I'm in a crash course right now where I'm taking on board all these notes and ideas. And yeah, you want to get to the point where you're talking about the things that mean the most to you.
Just to you, too. It doesn't even have to mean the most to the audience, in my opinion. Like some comics are getting up and talking about like the Me Too movement, where other comics are just getting up and talking about something they really enjoy. Like let's say it's as frivolous as like pro wrestling, but the crowd can tell that it's important to you. And that's why they'll go with you on that journey.
Yeah, and it's a very it's a crazy time right now. So, I think there's a lot of things that we all want to talk about, but then we also have to be careful. You know,
you have to make it funny.
you not only make it funny, but you right now the high watermark is Chappelle, and his special in the Belly Room, which is will go down as one of the most brilliant hours of comedy in the history of comedy. And just the fact that he's speaking the truth as he knows it. He's willing to crystallize these ideas, be as controversial as you possibly can be as a man speaking his truth, and yet layer it so that it's not only funny, but he's talking about his plight and everyone that came before him. So it's just, he's working on a whole other level that I'm just kind of amazed by. And he's been incredibly kind to me as well. And he's one of these generous people.
He loves
that, like,
stand-up.
Yeah.
And I feel I always say stand-up's like a fraternity. Like, I'm going to be nice to someone just because they're a comedian. But then when I feel like if they're like, it's like this, when they're disrespecting it or they're whatever, then I get a little salty. Like I was saying about that woman last, like it made me mad. She could have insulted me personally and I would be less offended than the way that she was insulting comedy. Because I was like,
I think, and I could be wrong because I'm green looking at it in a weird way from, I have a different perspective than you do, but I think someone like that, and I could be wrong because I don't know where I act, but I think that is the easy way out.
Yeah.
And that's just like, how can I immediately get a reaction instead of kind of figuring out, how to reveal my experience and my take on life and what I want to offer. And so, yeah, it's a little too bad.
when she's also just misrepresenting herself, trying to get a reaction from the crowd. And so now the crowd can smell that on her. Like, oh, you're just trying to get us to laugh at this weird thing instead of just saying like, no, just tell them who you really are and what you're really interested in and what's really moving to you. And the crowd's going to sense that and go, oh, I like her. Because she's just, even if I disagree, she's being genuine about it. Like Doug Stanhope, you know him?
I know of him, yeah.
Okay, man, his comedy is like incredible because I could disagree with every one of his bits and I'm still laughing and crying and going, hey, he's making some good points.
It's like about Patrice. That's why I love Patrice. It's
incredible.
Like, I'm enjoying the bit, but completely disagreeing with his perspective.
Yeah.
We can see it through his eyes and love his perspective. It's just not mine.
Yeah, and he's like talking about like sexually harassing women and smelling their office chairs and stuff. And you're like, he's a monster. But like, this is hilarious. And the way he's doing it is like, nah, man, that's part of being a guy. Like, I'm a primal man, and like these are things that I have to wrestle with. And like, but so yeah, I think that's why you're going to be really good. By the way, it's just because you're able to. You're just who you are.
Yeah, can I
which
ask
is
you
the secret.
A question about where you are in stand-up right now. As a guy who's watched and been like a huge fan for so many years, after your first time doing it, did it change your perspective on stand-up? Was it more like this wasn't what I expected for it to be like, or it is what I expected for it to be like?
Well, what's fascinating about it is I've been on stage literally since I was 8 years old. And I grew up in a theater family and I was doing like, and I'm not making this up, I was literally doing, the first play I did was Chekhov, I was butchering Chekhov as a child. Do you know what I mean? And then, exposed to all this great literature, Kurt Vonnegut and Salinger, and then also doing improv, and then, studied the National Theatre of Great Britain, went to NYU, blah, blah, and been acting, been in front of the camera my whole life. And yet, I'm telling you, to get up in front of an audience with all your own material, breaking the fourth wall and looking in their eyes is the hardest thing that I've attempted, because when you're in the hands of a great writer, you get to live through that incredible dialogue and get very specific about the where and everything else, and place yourself, and you're playing off the energy of other actors. You're up there alone. So yes, I have an incredible respect. The first time I was, I'll tell you, because you won't believe it. And I do have a witness that this happened. Brian Callen, it's been a buddy of mine forever, and was kind of the reason why I thought I could even attempt stand up. And I know that sounds like a backhanded compliment to him. It's not. To me, Brian looks like a really good physical actor doing stand up brilliantly. That's what he looks like to me. And so I thought, wait a minute. First of all, I love what he's doing. It's so funny. And I'm a physical actor, comedian, and I would love to attempt this. And around the same time, my agent said, would you host the Montreal Comedy Festival? And I was like, he didn't even know that I was interested in stand-up. And I thought, oh my God, this is incredible. Host it. What does that entail? He goes, no, you just go and you'll be a part of it and whatever. So I called my boy Brian. So we go out there. This is literally what happened. The night before we're going to dinner, he goes, let's go check out the venue during tomorrow. And I was like, oh, okay. We go to the venue. It's enormous. And he goes, we should talk to someone. Okay, cool. Hey, you guys, this is Jeremy. Hey, you guys. I know he's going to be hosting tomorrow. What does that entail? And they literally said, well, it's going to be on live television. He's going to get up and do listen to this. He's going to get up and do a quick 20. I'm not kidding. A quick 20, a tight 20.
Yeah.
And these are all words. This is Sanskrit to me. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, in
a
comedy,
20,
no.
a 20 paces. I'm going to walk 20 paces and then deliver something off a teleprompter, right? No. You're going to do 20 minutes of stand up. And Brian went white.
Yeah.
And he went, and then he pulled me aside and he goes, brother, we got to talk. I go, yeah, what's up? He goes, let's go to dinner and figure this out. I go, okay. We go to dinner. He goes, here's the deal. You're not going to do stand-up. I go, what do you mean? He goes, tell me a story right now. Tell me a funny story. And I told him the story about taking my mom to the Golden Globes, and we ran into Meryl Streep, and my mom literally froze. Now, my mom is an actress, artist, in her own right, and she literally froze, couldn't move, and we had to like literally pick her up and play. She freaked out because Meryl Streep comes up. I was doing a play called Fat Pig, and she was like, "Oh my God, Jeremy, I'm so sorry that I missed you in Fat Pig. I don't know Meryl Streep. How does Meryl Streep know me? How does she know that I'm doing an off-Broadway play? She was the nicest person in the world." Anyway, he goes, "Perfect. Here's what you're gonna do. You're going to go on live television hosting the biggest comedy event of the year, and you've never been on stage as a stand-up before. You're going to get up and tell this story. And during that's all you're going to do for 20 minutes. During this story, you're going to get sidetracked. Okay. And he just listed all the times I was going to get sidetracked. And I'm an actor. So, okay, done. Okay. And then I'm going to place myself in the audience. You and I are going to have a confrontation. And then you're going to have me removed. Done. And it was all this stuff. So I was like, great.
Smart.
You can look this up on
that's
YouTube.
so good,
you can
man.
look this up on YouTube 10 years ago. And he goes, unfortunately, because we don't have a lot of time, you have to be who they think you are. I go, what do you mean? He goes, they're going to think you're Ari Gold. So I want you to get distracted by your phone, be really cocky, talk about, wait, this offer is insane. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't mean to do this right now. And literally be distracted by the offer you're getting to play this role and be a douchebag and do all these things. And because we had no time, we had to just grab anything.
Yeah. I mean, 20 minutes is a long time.
Bro, I never told this to anyone.
Yeah.
I did 20 minutes on live. I don't even know what happened. It was like a hockey fight where you have to pull the jersey over the other guy's head and start swinging. I don't even know what happened. I have no idea what happened. And we did it.
Yeah.
And he comes up to me and goes, I can't believe that just happened. I was like, well, what happened?
Well,
He
you're
goes,
an actor, yeah.
yeah, I just did a monologue. They thought it was stand-up. Brian distracted me and if you were to say that to another comic, yeah, you're going to get a non-comedian to do 20 minutes on live television.
Well, he found the best way to bring the best part out of you. That's incredible. Yeah,
So
20
smart.
minutes is an eternity because it really is you versus the audience. Like if you think about it, like Mitch Hedberg used to have that great line where he's like, I feel like you guys all were like, it was like a mob coming at me. And then when I got into a corner, everyone stopped and was like, all right, make us laugh and we'll let you live. Like that's what it feels like. And you're like, okay, and you just, because it feels like us against them sometimes. Do you feel liberated by stand-up that you can say whatever you want? Because you're usually on a script.
Yes. Here's what's interesting. By the way, I kid you not. If you really want to remove Bubba, I won't feel terrible. But
What do you think? Is that picking up a lot?
Not at all.
Oh,
okay,
then
great,
we're good. Yeah.
great. I feel liberated. I feel intimidated by the freedom because you have to understand, as an actor, I've been contributing my own dialogue or pitching my own dialogue to every role I've ever done. Whether they take it or not is another story.
Then that's
What's the percentage on that?
It varies. Every time is completely different. Each, in television, the writer is king, so they have all the power. So you have to figure out when's the best time to pitch it. So my point is, I've been writing alternate dialogue my entire life. So that's why I even think that I would have a shot at
Did you
doing
used to do that
stand-up.
in auditions? When you went to auditions, would you improv in the room?
I would, and it's a very interesting journey to navigate because you don't want to be disrespectful in the room, but at the same time, so what I would do is, especially with a comedic role, I would do everything as scripted. And if they didn't, say thank you or yell cut or whatever, I would just know that I had a bunch more and would just continue on and keep going. And yeah, the only way to get auditions for me was to have all the dialogue memorized, to go in there ready to go as if you were filming it. Otherwise you can't beat these people out. So, and then I would also have dialogue kind of ready, or at least be ready just to flat out start improvising and do whatever. So it is, to answer your question, it's incredibly liberating and intimidating at the same time.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like very stuck when I have a script. So I'll go into the audition and I'm like, I'll read one of the lines. I'm like, that line is not funny, but they need me to read that and they want me to say this, and I don't want to disrespect the writer.
Right.
So
there are so many ways to make it funny.
Yeah.
So many ways. And you can do it through just simply investigating the character. Like, let's say you had one of those lines and you're like, this is viciously mediocre.
Yeah.
That you could write 11 alternates.
Sure.
So what a good thing to do is to go, maybe this character thinks he's really funny and he's not. You say this viciously mediocre line and laugh. And because you're a guy who thinks he's funny, who isn't, that's funny.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? You have to muscle it.
Sure.
You have to figure out a way to be bulletproof.
Yeah.
I don't do mediocre dialogue.
I always just read it.
You can do it. You can do it. Just think about the character.
Yeah.
You probably know a lot of unfunny people, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'll deliver it.
They're all in this room.
That's really fascinating. One thing that was interesting is like, so I'm looking, like I was aware of a lot of the things you want, especially like, there's the Larry Sanders Show, like we referenced, and then the, Old School, which is amazing. You were great in that. And then the Goods, the Neil Brennan made, which was awesome. You were great in it. But what I was surprised, which I didn't know till literally today, was Rugrats. Voice acting on Rugrats. Like, and you played a bunch of characters, right? For 7 years?
Yeah, I love doing voices, and I do impressions and all that kind of stuff. And for whatever reason, maybe because I've been busy or whatever, haven't done more of it, but I love doing it. It's so fun, and I just need to do more of it.
So cool.
Basically. But to get back to people like the Old School, for instance, you've got guys like Todd Phillip, the Todd Phillips of the world, the Adam McKays of the world. They know if you have someone like Will Ferrell, you have to let him go.
Absolutely.
You have to he's an animal. You got to let him run. You just got to let him run.
Yeah.
Just let him run. And that's his thing. His background is he's a sketch comedy comedian.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He didn't go to Juilliard.
Yeah. Don't
I'm not taking shots at him. I'm just saying, go to his strengths.
Yeah.
And so that's when you see, that's why you look at, Will in a Todd movie, or Will in, Adam McKay wrote and directed Talladega Nights, Step Brothers, the other guys, Anchorman, and Will crushes in every one of them. It's because he lets Will run.
Right. He doesn't make Will say the shit that, aren't a lot of the lines say like the line and then like to be determined? They'll just like say like, all right, let it now. Because I know that this is a weird example, but Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop. Like that was supposed to be like an action movie with Sylvester Stallone. And then they were like, well, we can make this a lot cheaper, get rid of a lot of the explosions and stuff, and then just get a comedian and we'll have him improv the lines. And so they would do it. Eddie Murphy would say some funny stuff, and then he'd be like, let's do it again. And then Eddie Murphy would say different stuff. And then on the third one, Eddie Murphy would say different stuff. And they're like, no, that was the funniest. Let's keep that one, which is like insane.
That's why the Will Ferrell movies were best on DVD when you had the edits.
Alternate.
All those,
yeah.
As soon as DVDs weren't popular anymore, I miss
Yeah.
having those features of being like, what are those alternate takes?
Yeah.
Where Adam McKay and him would just go bonkers.
What was it just yesterday you were telling me? Maybe it was, no, it wasn't today. It was yesterday. He was talking about, he listened to the, what was it, Twilight?
Oh yeah, the Twilight director's commentary. And Jeff was like, why would you
I couldn't
listen
even
to
listen
that?
to Aaron tell the rest of the story. Because
Yeah,
I was
and
like, Aaron,
because
you not only watched Twilight, but you watched the
director's commentary.
The director's
Because I
commentary.
watched the movie and such, just like, what is she thinking putting this movie together? And so I had to listen to the commentary to try to figure out what she was trying to even express or get done. I was like, oh no, she's just a psychopath. She was a psychopath given a movie that people didn't think was going to do well.
Right. Yeah, it was a book, right? And then she was like,
and she was given a very
I guess
successful
I'll
book and
do my
script.
best here. Yeah.
And now that I've said that, I could never be friends with her in real life, I guess. If
No,
she ever
she's-
listens to this.
I don't know if she's going to be listening to this, but it's very funny that you would listen to the director's cut. But I do like that idea.
I loved watching or listening to the director's commentary on movies I didn't like more than movies I did like.
But a lot of people would just go, I'm never going to listen to that.
Oh, no.
No, I'm sorry,
the
not
best
that.
commentaries were the
think to
worst movies.
They would think to themselves, I hated this movie.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone asks me about it, I'll just say it wasn't my cup of tea. You were so fascinated by it, but that you had to go, no, we're going to watch it all over again. And I'm going to put on the director's cut. I want to know what.
If a baby sticks a fork into a socket and you could go back and listen to the process of like, oh yeah, this will fit in here, you're going to listen.
You needed to hear her thought process.
Yeah.
That is very, very fascinating.
If anybody's
to me.
sister has a copy of Twilight, listen to that director's commentary and you'll see there's nothing in that lady's bucket.
Catherine Hardwicke.
I wasn't going to say her name.
Well, I have to say, not only is Catherine Hardwicke a friend of mine, but she did all the sets. I used to be in a theater company that John Cusack and I started called The New Criminals in Chicago, and she did all the sets for us. And she's one, in my opinion, one of the great creative minds of all time. But
That's probably why they hired her.
Yeah, but listen,
They hired her because 13 was good.
yeah, she
did 13, and 13 was good.
She's got a great mind.
Yeah.
But no, listen, I'm lucky enough to meditate and to not sit in judgment. And I don't even judge you for judging her. I
God.
embrace you.
Well, but also,
Those days are done.
I did
But you're
enjoy
a fucking
that you.
cunt. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But I do enjoy
By the
your
way, hold on.
process on that.
I hate to interrupt you. That just reminded me, because I'm so new to stand up, I'm such a dummy that when I do crowd work and I really feel like I offend someone, the other night I was like, I'm so sorry. And this comic literally pulled me aside and goes, hey, dummy, don't apologize to the audience ever.
Yeah,
what are you doing? And I'm like, no, I think I really offended. He goes, brother, that's why they're here. So I'm like, still,
the
because,
freedom.
It's so funny
Well,
because.
the connection and bond.
What's that?
The connection and bond you make with them in that moment is real, and some of them want that.
Yeah,
despite
people
what
to
it
this
is.
day go, Don
'Cause you
Rickles.
rib
Don
your
Rickles
friends.
called me a fat pig. Like, and they've held that their whole life. Like, oh, I went with my husband to Don Rickles in Vegas, and he called me a fat pig. And you're like, he literally looked at you, saw that you're overweight, and called you a fat pig dummy. And you're like, oh, what a beautiful
not
shit
quite the
thing
Elvis, not quite
I
the Elvis
shared.
experience to get kissed on the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But in comedy.
I just it's so hard for me to go there.
Yeah.
And yet that's hard for people to believe, because I played a character for nearly a decade that went bad on everyone.
Yeah.
And was an equal opportunity offender.
Right.
It was a
You know,
character.
Yeah, it was a fictional character. But I think in this country in particular, it's very hard for people to separate the two.
Yeah.
You know?
In fact, we were at a bar in Florida, and people kept calling you Ari, which I was getting upset. I was like, this guy needs to be punched in the chin. Like, why are you calling him a name that's clearly not his name, which you must get all the time, right? Or
Well, it's interesting. Like when I go to London, because I did a show called Mr. Selfridge for 4 years right after I wrapped Entourage. And the reason why you guys may not know it is it aired on PBS. And PBS, unbeknownst to me at that time, doesn't, they're funded by the people. They have no money to advertise.
Right.
So you can have great content, but if you can't advertise, you're done.
Yeah, that's it.
So people in the UK know me as Mr. Selfridge. So when they approach me, it's because this guy was like turn of the century, invented the retail business and shopping and everything. So they approach me in a totally different way. But over here, they see me, and because I played this abrasive, acerbic agent authentically for a long time, they can kind of want me to show me their inner Ari, which can often be very aggressive. And I've had guys say, bro, I'm an asshole because of you. And I think, well, I think you're doing a really great job on your own. I don't, you know what I mean? No, seriously, I don't know if you needed me. I think you're killing the game. So that's
a great
always,
reply.
that's always interesting.
Because it's funny, like I was in a celebrity softball game with Matthew Perry, and people kept calling him Chandler, and then some people were doing it to be Henri. Like some people were like shouting it from the stands at Wrigley, like, "Oh, dude, come on, hit it here, Chandler!" And I was like, "I want to fight that man," and he was like, "It happens to me every day. Like, it's okay. It's not a big deal. But like,
Yeah.
I'm flattered that you're also agitated by what goes on in my life every single day.
It's funny because you mentioned Beverly Hills Cop, and it was written to be, as a drama and explosions and all that stuff. I was hired to do Rush Hour with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan, and they called me the night before to fly to Vegas and do the scene. And I said, "Oh, send me over the pages," and they sent me over the pages. And my role had one line, and it was a saleswoman. And the line was, "Can I help you?"
Saleswoman.
It was a saleswoman. So I was like, "This is interesting. I'm the wrong gender, and there are no lines." And I was like, "This is, before Entourage, and this is. I mean, I literally, I've done probably 70 movies, and I think the first 40 of them was stuff like this.
And usually you play a guy. I've seen a lot of your work.
I do play. I do.
a man.
I do very gender specific roles.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, I called them up and I said, "Look, can I just, since it's written as a woman, can he be gay, and can I just go?" And they go, "No, that's why we hired you. We want you just to improvise and go." So I just went for it, and I just had a blast.
Solid choices.
And I picked, I took these like streaking tips, and I did my own stuff. I had blonde hair and a little kind of like boy band beard with just the line around your chin. And just went into this really deep kind of, like transitioning kind of, just possibly this situation here. And, just went to that place. And I tell this story on stage. I mean, there's at one point, and I'm not making this up, Mike Tyson wandered onto the set because it was a Versace store in Vegas, didn't look up and see that we were filming. And the first AD got so intimidated, he quit. And so I had to go over and tell Mike in character, because I kind of stay in character. So I'm the most effeminate gentleman you've ever seen in your entire life, telling Mike Tyson to leave the store, and you're gonna have to come and see the show to see the rest of it. But it was fascinating. I finally get to meet Mike Tyson, and I just couldn't be more. "Excuse me, Mike. Yeah, you're gonna have to get out of the shot." It didn't end well.
Well, and also it's great because you can't now be Jeremy Piven in that costume, like, or in that, like, in what you're wearing, and just go over like in your little blouse and be like, "Hey, it's Jeremy Piven." Like, it's gonna be, you'd be like, "What the hell is happening?" Like, Mike Tyson's already, he's a very simple guy, like, I don't think he's
punched
gonna.
a lot.
Yeah, he'd be like freaked out, like, "Oh shit, I thought you were doing some weird shit." like I could just imagine, like, you just stayed in character the entire time is incredible.
I've had so many interesting Mike Tyson interactions.
Yeah,
and
I was
now,
going to ask, have you ran into him since?
absolutely. And for some reason, they've all ended up on stage with me just because, first of all, his journey is fascinating to me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Youngest heavyweight champion. And you can look at any of his documentaries. He's been very open and honest about his journey, and he's come through it. And now he's this kind of evolved Buddha-like creature.
Yeah.
So he's incredible. And all of my interactions have been both, like, to me, really funny and fascinating. And I just, like you were saying, like, what do you put on stage? Well, I know it's cheesy to talk about celebrity interactions, but if I've had like these incredible moments with these people that are fascinating, you just might as well share them.
Absolutely. I had this conversation with my buddy Nick and Justin at the Improv like 2 nights ago. Is like, I will work on projects with people that are well known, right? And then I will try to tell a story like, "Oh, it's so funny. Sierra said the funniest thing about whatever the story might be." And my friends from back home will be like, "Oh God, name drop that you're like referencing." You're like, "Am I supposed to just not include her in the story because she's," and then because I feel so insecure about that my friends are thinking like I'm selling out or something, I'll sometimes try to share the story without the person's name. But the reason the story is interesting is because they're famous. I'll be like, "Oh, my one friend was talking trash about a famous person. And then a couple weeks later, I had a big wrestling party, and that famous person came to my party. And then my friend was so embarrassed because they thought they would never come in contact with this celebrity. And I'm telling that story. My friend's like, "Why don't you just say who the famous person is?"
Right.
He's like, "Because I know if I did, you would
double-edged
think
sword.
I'm a douche for not." Or for like name dropping or what. It's like such an annoying. So now I've given up on all that. I'm like, I'm sorry if my stories make your life feel.
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
Don't apologize for any of
Especially
it.
if, like, you're dealing with Mike Tyson. Everyone's interacting with Mike Tyson differently because he's Mike Tyson.
Yeah, we're all very aware of him. People have opinions about him that don't even know much about him. You're like, no, he's one of the greatest.
I got to when he did Entourage, I somehow got to just start directing him. And it was like such a gift. I grew up being directed by my parents, so it's kind of, I guess, in my blood. And I kind of became the go-to guy if they were athletes or whatever to kind of work with them and help them. And it was just the greatest time because what I did with him was I just started improvising with him, and I looked over and I told him to start turning the camera over and filming, and I just kind of organically led him into the scene because, I mean, I'm sure
he plays himself, right?
he plays himself. He plays
How
himself,
can he
but
play anybody else?
yeah, he had a real idea of how he wanted to play the scene. But once we started kind of kicking it around, then we started having a lot of fun. But I remember he asked me, he goes, basically, what's happening with you right now? And I go, and
That's
he goes,
incredible.
and then he goes,
incredible.
and then he goes, I lost 100 pounds. And I was like, I'm sorry? He goes, I lost 100 pounds. I go, you lost 100 pounds? Do you know when someone asks you a question and you start to answer and they immediately throw something in?
Yeah.
Like he basically wanted to tell me that, but thought maybe I'll open with a question, And then I said, oh my God, that's incredible, 100 pounds. And he goes, basically I'm vegan right now and, I'm a pacifist. I go, you're a what? He goes, I'm a pacifist. A what? A pacifist. You're a pacifist? And then I literally go, pacifist? So it's like, I wasn't trying. It was just, he is such a sweet, gentle man that literally looks at his life before he became kind of like really present in his body and a pacifist and a vegan and all these things and doesn't recognize the other guy. So that must be very
Which
surreal.
is cool, yeah.
Think about it. I played a fictional character. People think of him as another version that he actually was.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just insanity to wrap your mind around that.
Which that's a true transition. Like some people are just like, they're like, oh, I've always been this thing I had to be ashamed of, and now I get to be the real me. That's what Mike Tyson is in a lot of ways. I mean, he didn't change genders, but he went from being this guy who got, his only value was if you could buy him stuff or if you could knock out someone so good that you can make money off of him. And then now he's this sweetheart who lost a kid, who empathizes. I've met him a few times and he's been a delight every single time. However, I still loved the old version of him so much, like in my mind, like I wasn't judging the old version. I still loved the old version. And so it's like, I wanted to ask things, but I was also like, he doesn't, want to talk about that kind of stuff the way I think it's cool. Like I think it's cool that like he'd just fight a dude at a casino because the guy called him a name. I've never been able to do that. I've never been able to just have a guy be like, you're a douchebag, and be like, oh, that's going to be the biggest mistake of your life that you just called me that. Whereas Mike Tyson could do that. He could just defend himself.
But at the same
He's not
time,
proud of it.
he even says that he's not a tough guy. He flat out says, basically, I'm not a tough guy. I cry all the time. I made many millions, but basically, I cry. I cry like a grandmother. Because he's very sensitive. He learned the art of boxing from Cuss back in the day. They took him when he was 15 years old off the streets. And so he hadn't even grown into himself. And he's suddenly the youngest heavyweight champion. But no, he wasn't a street fighter at all. And he doesn't consider himself a tough guy. That's what's kind of fascinating about the whole thing.
But I like that he was able to, like, when you learn you're the baddest man on the planet, like just in your brain, like think about how your ego, like my ego will kind of flare up like after a good set, like, yeah, kind of the king of this show, And people are coming up to me afterwards, like, you were so funny. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And it's just that
How long does that last?
5 minutes.
No, honestly.
Like having a good set.
You have a killer set. You crushed it. How long does that feeling stay with you?
Forever, I think.
Is it the first or second show?
For real. So if I have a bad set, it stays with me until the next set that I do well. So I'll even be a little grumpy, which is another reason why I'm great at being single as opposed to like having a girl in my life or because I literally would bum out. Both my last girlfriends, my last 2 ex-girlfriends, were like, "You're horrible to be around once you have a bad set." And they'll even like try to talk me out of it. Like, it wasn't even that bad set. Like, people loved it. They bought merchandise afterwards. You did great. But to me, it wasn't good.
Right.
So I'm like, I gotta get back on stage to like do it. But then once I have a good set, I'm like a delight and I'm in good spirits. Like, I'm sure you can even tell like when I'm in a weird mood, and it's purely based off of how my stand-up went the night before.
So if you could, and maybe you can't, what do you think the difference is between when you kill and when you get off track a bit?
I can tell you exactly what it is. Me and Jeff Zenesak, who's been a friend on the pod, it's never about the joke. It's about the likability. So even the most raunchy comedians, even the most hated, or not hated, but even the most like vile comedians. Let's say you're telling a story about how you tried to kill your dad. Brant Tobler's got a whole story about how he tried to kill his dad. In what world would we laugh at someone telling a true story about how they tried to murder their father? Likability. If the audience likes you, they're going to go with you on that journey. Same with the lady I referenced last night. Those jokes might have worked in other rooms, but they had to like her before that worked. So Daniel Tosh is a great example of like some of the most brilliant material that is like, I can't believe he's getting away with that up there. But Daniel will throw these very intentional smiles at the crowd. And it's this glance that reminds the audience and resets their palate of like, oh, he's just kidding. He's just making jokes. Like, he's not. So I think that likability is this is a story Andrew Slater won't be happy for me to tell, but there was a time when he did a bit and it got nothing. And I said, just let me do it on the next show. I want to show you that joke's funny. He goes, that joke's shit. And I was like, no, that joke was funny. Just I'm a very simple guy. I talk about it in my act a lot about how I didn't learn to read till later in life and I had a lot of learning disabilities, dyslexia and stuff. And so I was trying to show him that when I do the joke, the audience just thinks, oh, this smiley dumb guy made us laugh about a joke. When Andrew does the joke, he's very smart. And the audience can tell that he's smarter than them. So when he did the joke, it just came off as like arrogant. I did the joke in the next set just through my smiley kind of like clumsy guy cadence. And the crowd loved it. And all it was is because they like, oh, I don't feel like he's rubbing it in our face that he's smarter than me. He's just telling a joke, like as a smiley dumb guy. And
well, not dumb guy, an accessible guy that's one of us.
yeah, he's one of us. He's my buddy up there. That's my buddy telling me jokes instead of a guy berating me for not being as smart as him. But I think likability is the only difference. And there's times when I get up there and I just robotically go through my material that I know works, and it'll get laughs, but it won't feel right. I'm not being present and the crowd's not connecting with me.
Right.
Whereas some nights I'm not even doing good jokes, but the crowd's like, I loved him. I connected with him. And I think that's like what makes stand-up special is like, when they connect with you, when they feel like, man, I love that guy. That's why it's so disappointing when you meet comics off stage who are different than the way that they are on stage. Because he's like, oh, I wanted to like that guy.
Right.
And he's not that guy.
You like what he presented there.
Yeah.
And he's just not presenting it now here.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your process like when you've got a Tonight Show appearance coming up and stuff like that? Are there certain places you can workshop the material? Do you have friends you go to pitch it, or what do you do?
I think Aaron and my buddy Brant might be the only guys that I always should go, oh, hey, last night I did this joke and it worked really well and it went like this. But that's more of me just excited to share it with my friends. And also they'll be like, oh yeah, that is good. Or you could do this. Like they kind of like tag it up. But for the most part, I do it 100% on stage. I'll never like say, oh, I've got a bit like this where I do this. Cause I feel like people will go, oh God, he's trying material on us or something like that. But there's like the Comedy Cellar or, and actually when you do the Tonight Show, they give you like 50 sets to do around town before you go to it on the Tonight Show.
And they have their input too.
Yeah. And they'll call a club. Hey, we got a guy. It's going to be on Tonight Show on Friday. How many sets? And then SD, who runs the Comedy Cellar, is like, I'll put him on every show. He'll run the same material, which is tough because TV is so different than live audiences that, you're stuck in that. Standards and Practices knows every word you're going to say. I guess it's pretty close to, acting in that way, that now you do have your own script that you wrote. And if you vary from those words, they're going to be really upset because they're like, no, we're putting this live on network we can't have you just going on a whim, which I guess is why Bill Hicks got in so much trouble when he did that on Letterman, and they like never aired it. Like, you're a dummy. You can't.
They aired it. They aired it after he died.
Like 8 years.
Yeah.
Like, it was like so long after, and they only aired it so long after because he got so famous in death.
Yeah.
Like, he was so famous in death that like, we really regret not airing this then. But like, if he was still alive, they would.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what has been your process? Like, what's been your process writing the material and
Well, what's interesting is like it's all been fat. The whole puzzle's been very fascinating to me, and just when you're doing a play, you understand intrinsically that each audience is different, and I just didn't carry that over to stand up. And sometimes like an audience won't be as present or as vocal or whatever, and you start taking it out on yourself, thinking, "Oh man, I'm off my game," when it may just be the exchange, and they're still taking you in or whatever. So it's having to kind of navigate that and get it. A lot of my bits now, stuff you haven't even seen since then, have been like performance bits where you, like, I couldn't even pitch it right here.
I watched you at the Laugh Factory. So we were on the same show at the Laugh Factory. I watched your entire set.
Oh, okay.
And I came down, but you left pretty quick with your mom.
Yes.
You and your mom left right after the set.
Yes.
And but that was great.
Yeah,
I was even like, Aaron
I
was
was
there.
watching
Aaron was
it,
there,
yeah.
and I was with Aaron and my buddy Justin, and I go, "Oh, he's doing different." I was so proud in that moment, like, "Fuck, this guy, he's getting it." Like, not getting it by being funny, or getting it by being like, you try different things, and that's what makes it exciting.
Yeah, and that particular bit, I needed to take the chance. For me, it's really crazy because that bit that I tried is one of these really physical bits that like you have to commit to, and it's either going to bomb or it's not.
Yeah.
So you have to be prepared to go balls to the wall, jump in there and have it not work. And that's really exciting and crazy. And because I don't really, have a big reference for comedy, so I don't have my special little spots yet.
Sure.
I have to try it at a sold out house at the Laugh Factory where everyone knows who I am. So it's like, get ready for Jeremy Piven to bomb in your face.
But that's not true. You say that, and I get why you say that, but like, it's fun to watch the crowd who loves you, and they already know. But it is interesting to watch you change their perspective on what they're expecting because of your character, like we were talking earlier.
Yeah.
So I can actually watch, a lot of beautiful women come to your shows, but like I like to watch the crowd literally be like they're getting to know you. Like it's a very fascinating adjustment, even in like the first couple minutes where they're like, oh, well, like I like this. This is not the character I know, but this is the Jeremy Piven I hoped I knew. Like I watched that in the audience in Florida and at the Laugh Factory.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's yeah. I mean, I can remember every note that every comic has given me. And and that's not even like, it's just because it's like anything else, like the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been taking direction as an actor my entire life, I've now, it's just part of, who I am creatively to take these notes and try them. If they don't work, cool. Maybe they're right for me, maybe they're not. But Kirk Fox,
Yeah, good friend of mine.
great guy,
Love that
great guy. By the way,
Talk about confidence.
I've never even told this story. This is so fucking funny. He used to teach me. He was my tennis coach. Okay, so and
So
when I
many
say
Kirk
that,
Fox stories start that way. By the
Yeah,
way.
yes,
he's a tennis
yes.
guy, yeah.
So at the time, I'm shooting Entourage, and we had filmed all day on the golf course, and it was one of those days where it's like in the valley. It was like 111. It was insane. Just grinded all day. I usually have a ton of dialogue. I love doing it, but it's like by the end of the day, you're wrung out. I was wrung out, and I get home. I'm like, the phone rings, and they go, "Where are you?" I go, "What do you mean?" They're like, "You are Andre Agassi's partner on television. It's for charity, and it's the."
They love springing these on you, don't they?
No, but no, I supposedly knew about this one, and I forgot. And they're like, it's the Mercedes, challenge, and you're battling the Mitchell brothers, the current reigning doubles champions. And I was like, oh no, you have the wrong guy. I'm like 5'9" Jewish guy who's an actor. I'm not supposed to be doing anything with Andre Agassi.
What if
except
there was
maybe playing his life story? Is that what you'd like?
What if there's
I'd
a
like to give that a
PGA
shot.
There's a Jeremy Piven who's a PGA guy that's like 6'7", who's like, I don't know if someone got that email. Wasn't I supposed to play with Agassi?
Exactly.
Like, what's going on?
So I was like, I can't, you guys, please. They're like, no, you have to. And I somehow get over there. There's Kirk. He's like, I got you, buddy. Now, we didn't, I didn't have a lot of time to play tennis with him. And I love this guy, and I want to play more tennis with him. And he goes, come here. We went into the bathroom. He literally went over all the proper ways to hit a ball and we're in a bathroom.
I was going to say in a bathroom.
In a bathroom stall, because there was nowhere else to do it. So he's showing me lean into it here, lean into it. And then I throw some gear on, and suddenly I'm on television with Andre Agassi. And I kid you not, this is what happens now. I go to the net. He wants me to go to the net mostly, and that's where I'll live. I'll just be up at the net. Yeah. Andre, you take care of it. This is when he was in his last year of competing. So he was like 38 years old, but it was his last year, and he was genius and killing it. And I started kind of like, because I do have good lateral movement for an old Jew, I have to say. I can move, you know what I mean? I can move, like I can get to the ball. So I was punching it and I was scoring.
Nice.
Because they totally underestimated me. Then I got so cocky that the ball went up in the air, and I decided to do some weird rodeo clown Cirque du Soleil bullshit, where I literally went all the way down, squatted, and then sprung up into the air. And as I'm in the air, my back locked into spasm in an S curve. So I suddenly developed scoliosis in the air, came down, landed wrong, and I was like, I am fucked. I was like, okay, just don't scream, don't start shaking like you've been electrocuted. Just breathe and somehow graciously leave the court.
Yeah.
And I graciously just kind of left the court, went back. The trainer took care of me. John Lovitz was somehow in the audience.
Also a friend of mine.
Who was
John.
He was maybe a celebrity alternate. I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is that he had a Hawaiian shirt on, and he finished, and everybody wins. And you know what I mean? And I'm just taking painkillers and.
But that's great. Everyone's like, did you, like, I bet there's people to this day be like, do you know Jeremy Piven's like actually really good at tennis? And Kirk's like, well, I mean, he's good. Right? Like, that's like, there's people, because you put on a show, right?
It's probably on your Wikipedia page.
I think in my mind I put on a show, and that's enough.
That's enough.
You know
They
what I
underestimated
mean?
it. It was on TV with Agassi.
But you scored points against professionals.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
they were having fun. They were taking it easy on me. Everybody.
Agassi, you didn't feel like fastballs whizzing by you from Agassi behind you?
Oh yeah, every once in a while it was terrifying.
Yeah, that'd be my concern.
It was.
You're like,
It was absolutely terrifying. But let's be honest. I injured myself.
It's great.
Okay, horribly in the
Noticeably.
middle of an exhibition.
But
I mean, that's
noticeably.
basically what it comes down to.
When you came down and you graciously walked off, did anyone go, oh, he just hurt himself?
I got on the mic and I was, self-deprecating, and saw Lovitz in the audience, and it was a smooth transition. It probably even looked like it was planned.
Yeah.
All I know is that I was just, shirtless and on the trainer's table talking to, my hero, Andre Agassi. Yeah. And it was, everybody wins. But now it's so amazing to run into Kurt Fox and to have him, as somewhat of a mentor like you are to me, just guys that are brilliant in what they do and are kind enough to go, hey man, just like these little notes that can set you free.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
I think your next stand-up special is going to be I Am Not Ari Gold. I think that should be your, that's a great title. And people are going to go, because now Ari Gold's like in the title. So they're going to go, oh, Jeremy Piven's doing stand-up. And the whole perspective is like, hey, let's get to know the real me. I'll tell you all about me. I'll tell you about my life. I'll tell you about, and that's I believe it'd be a draw. If I'm on Netflix and I see I Am Not Ari Gold.
I'm going to tell you all about my life, and it'll bore you kind of like the worst TED Talk you've ever seen, but please enjoy.
I doubt it. Your life's 1,000 times more interesting than most of my friends.
Well, listen,
thanks.
I'm loving.
I love my friends, but I'm like, I guarantee you nobody's like, what?
No, yeah, no. There's no way I take true offense to
Actually,
that.
Sean Waltman might have a more interesting story than anyone I've ever met. Actually, Sean Waltman told us that if I took his mugshot, I love mugshots. Like when people are arrested, like I'm gonna start a collection of all my friends who have been arrested. It's mugshots, and he goes, I could make 52 of them and give you like a deck of cards. We could put a different mugshot on each card. And he's currently writing a book, and I guarantee it's going to be the most insane things you've ever heard in your
He
life.
has 52 mugshots.
Well, he said he has like 28 or something like that. But he was like just like, and he because he's an addict, you know, he struggled with a lot of addiction and stuff. But
Yeah.
those, even though were the worst times of his life and the hardest times and things that he's gotten through, the best stories. Like the best stories. And people love hearing that and they root for him now because he's not in those anymore. But the best stories are from people who have had real crazy interaction.
But that's what's so fascinating about stand-up, because you can have the best stories, but you put that guy on stage with a mic alone in front of a full house.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a little bit different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But and that's another thing is like,
It's like the difference between, and this is maybe a terrible analogy, but working with your trainer and sparring as opposed to being thrown into the belly of the beast with a professional.
Absolutely.
And getting
yes.
your head kicked
That's it.
in.
Right.
yeah, with that adrenaline and that stuff. My buddy just did celebrity boxing, or not a charity boxing thing. And he trained for it for like a month. And then he goes, once I got in there, I was like, it was a whole different world. Like, he's like, I was feeling so confident. And then I was looking at the other guy and I was just looking at how big his biceps were. He goes, that has nothing to do with boxing. But I was like getting rattled just visually by the other guy who was obviously training and lifting and doing all
And
that
he
stuff.
had an adrenaline dump, and then
Yep.
suddenly you have to deal with that.
But the other guy's having the same thing towards him, going, "Oh God, look at that guy over there. He's jumping around. It seems confident." And it's like such a head game or a mind game.
Right.
What were the sports you played growing up?
Believe it or not, I played football, which was ultimately, you know, if I wanted any longevity, a terrible choice, because there aren't any, you know, small Jewish linebackers in the NFL. There aren't. It just doesn't happen.
Because you stopped playing.
Yeah, that could have been you, bro. That could have been you.
No, but I was.
But you did this whole acting thing, and
Yeah, Bill Goldberg, right?
I was the only white boy on my team that played, and it was just an amazing experience because no one knew I acted.
Sure.
You know, I was literally after school either playing organized football. I played all 4 years in high school, and we had 5,200 kids in my school, so we were Division I, and we, you know, had a really great team, and guys that I played with went on to play college and pro and all that kind of stuff. And
Anyone would know.
no one you would know. I mean, he was the guy I played with, ended up being a tight end for the Dallas Cowboys named Scott Peterson, who you wouldn't know. Guys were a buddy of mine, ended up, you know, full ride at Michigan, but then breaking his femur within a few moments, you know. Anyway, it was like, it was incredibly challenging and amazing. And those guys didn't know I acted, but everyone that I acted with knew I played football, because when you go to high school, that's what's visible, and no one cares. I'm doing a play down the street and we're doing improv. And what are you doing?
exactly.
And
At
then
school time, that's a very judgment, like a thing to judge.
And John Cusack was you know, my best friend, and so
Really? I didn't
were-
know that.
Yeah, so we were and then we, after high school, ended up, you know, being roommates at NYU together, and then starting a theater company and blah, blah,
Nice.
then ended up being in about 9 movies together and all that kind of stuff. So it was very, you know, it's very interesting when people you went to high school with they're not curious about your acting, and then they see you on TV, and then, you know.
Yeah, if you
Then-
play on the football team and you have a girlfriend in your senior year, she wears your jersey around school and stuff. That didn't happen for us theater kids. There wasn't like, she's like, "Oh, let me wear your Peter Pan."
playbills.
Yeah, like my boyfriend is the lead of the play. You're like,
Yeah.
like, it's not a thing. No, you like, so you intentionally kept it from the football players.
No, I didn't intentionally do anything.
Oh.
I just, no one was curious
Oh, okay.
about
You're like,
it.
I'm not offering that up at practice.
No, it
Hey, you guys
just
come to my play this Friday? You don't do that?
never, it just never, it just would never come up.
Sure.
Yeah.
They would, you know, I remember then playing intramural in college, and, you know, we were running drills, and one guy went, "I think there was a typo in the paper, man. It says that you're doing Julius Caesar." And I go, "No, I'm doing it." He goes, "What? Why are you doing that?" I go, "Oh no, I'm playing Mark Antony and Julius Caesar, you know, right now." why? And
They
I was
couldn't even
like,
understand.
you didn't understand the concept. And
Are your
and
parents making you do it? You're like,
yeah,
well,
I mean, you're doing
in
it
a
for
way,
some-
but I also love it.
yeah. So it was just confusing to them. And then I joined a fraternity and they ended up being anti-Semitic and they hid it from me and then I had to leave. So I've had a really strange, interesting journey. I'm walking after school special, basically.
I have two weird questions for you that you don't have to answer if you don't want.
Okay.
The one is, this one's not as bad as the second one.
You make like you're reading off of Twitter right now.
Well, no,
'cause your computer's up.
Yeah.
I made
Fan
these questions
questions? What's
that
going
I'm
on?
going to ask all the guests that we've discussed, but I think you're a perfect candidate for this. This one's just silly, but it sounded like you were always going to be an actor and you've done great at that. And like your parents kind of, put that in you and you've loved it and you've been wildly successful at it. If you could do any job, forget what you're good at, but if you could be any other profession, what would it be?
Well, I mean, to this day, I play the drums, and I know that's another creative outlet, but I love playing the drums, and I've done it my whole life. And just that feeling when you have a band and you're all just kind of in tune with each other, and it's just there's nothing like it. I love it, and I do want to. I talked to you a little bit about this. I do want to figure out a night, and I'll talk to you about it afterwards, where we really combine music and comedy, because I just feel like it's intimidated people until people have walked away from it and not done it. But I think there's something there.
Yeah.
It'd be really, really fun to do that. So I'd probably be playing the drums. I obviously wanted to be a football player, and
Being a pro athlete is a pretty good one.
it's a great
If
one.
you're good.
But how old are you?
I'm 35.
Okay, you would officially be retired.
Yeah, that's the worst part.
How
I
do
talk
you-
about that all the time.
No, literally, you'd be retired.
They'd
You'd
be
a
calling me
retired-
old on TV.
Right, right.
How crazy! Like in stand up, people go, "How old are you?" And I go, "Oh, I'm 35." And they go, "Oh, Jesus, you're ahead of the game, man! Like
Yeah.
you're doing really good in stand up for because I've always wanted to be a comedian." But yeah, in football, I would already be having to have this weird identity crisis of like, oh, what's next? That chapter of my life is over. And like stand-up comedy, like Don Rickles performed the night before he passed away. His best friend in the world was like helping him get to the stage because his body was just too weak, but he still had the mind and he still had the mouth to just keep doing what he loved, which is a great thing about this job. And also acting, you could do that forever. You could.
My father was playing King Lear until he passed away.
That is
literally.
incredible.
Yeah, I mean, my sister was directing him. He had walking pneumonia and cancer, and was literally doing King Lear.
I love that.
Yeah, and that's the
But
way.
I love that he didn't let cancer stop him from doing like
No.
what he loved.
No, he found out he had cancer, and the next thing he did was teach his Monday night class. He just went right to class.
I love
to
that.
teach. Yeah, that was him.
That's incredible. You get a lot of that drive from him. Is that like?
I think I get a lot of it. I think I get my male pattern baldness. I mean,
He gave you a lot. You know?
he gave me a lot, man.
Yeah. Well, but not a lot of people,
my-
and that's another thing in the arts. Not a lot of people can say that their dad was like a real positive influence on them and stuff like that too, or
my-
sports.
Yeah, I had my dad come watch me do a Shakespeare play, and I'm like, sorry, Dad. Just sit through that, 'cause it's-
No, but my father had a very deep voice down here, and he was always giving notes. And even as a little kid, there are all these people that have like gone on to be prolific actors and whatnot that would be at our house, and I was a little kid, just like watching the shows, and then I remember like I was at a rap party, for they were doing Hamlet. And Aidan Quinn, who's a very prolific actor right now, was playing Hamlet. My father was playing many different roles, and my father was giving notes. If you could just throw that line away, and they were like, "No, Byrne, that's great. The show is over."
We wrap.
No. I know it is, but one quick note when you make that entrance, if you could, and my father
What
was
an incredible
my father
human.
would never, because to him it was like Shandling talked about, in that documentary about just letting the act of the creativity of that moment, let that be enough. So he wanted to give you notes so you could take that on and become a better artist, even though you wouldn't get a chance necessarily to do it again.
Sure.
So he was that's the household that I grew
I
up in,
love
which is
that. But that's great.
I like that in my mind. I knew that you nailed your dad's voice. Never meeting him, I was just
We
like,
never heard him. And
yeah,
we're like,
but I've
that's
heard the other
definitely-
impression, so I'm like, oh, he must be nailing this.
Exactly.
Well, my father, like he embarrassed me to the point of like, I've never even heard of anything like this in my life. Like he would literally, when we would go out to dinner, like if you had a waitress and I was like 12 years old, he would say, "Hey, my son thinks you're very attractive." And I'd be like, "What? Yeah, he's got hair on his balls now. He's quite the big shot.
Oh my
and
God.
like
He's quite the big
you know,
shot.
and like, but he was just an incredibly passionate man. I remember he was directing himself in Macbeth. I was playing Macduff, living at home. My mom was playing Lady Macbeth, and we used to go around to high schools and whatnot and prep them because they would come in for the matinees and talk about the play so they could get a sense of what the play is and they can understand it. I remember I said to my dad one time, Dad, look, that's my school out there, please, for me, my teachers are still out
Please, for
there. Just
me.
don't embarrass me. Please, for me, just don't. Oh, please, I'm not going to embarrass you. And he's talking to them, and I'm up there, and Harry Lennox, who's another great actor that's out there right now. He's on the Blacklist and a million other things. And who's actually a dead ringer. No, I shouldn't say this, but he looks very much like Obama and actually is very political and someday I feel like will transition at some point. Anyway, so Harry and I usually would do a scene, and I said, Dad, it's out of context. They never get it. Please, let's not do a scene this one time, and don't embarrass me. He goes, oh, please, I won't embarrass you. So he's talking to my high school, mostly black high school, and he's talking to them, and he said, Macbeth was a victim of his own ambition. And speaking of ambition, my son Jeremy always wanted to be a black football player.
Oh my God.
5,000 kids looking at me like, what the fuck? This motherfucker. Always wanted to be what? This mother, huh? And then there was this awkward silence, and my father turns to me and goes, how about that scene? So I get up with Harry, and we just kind of launch into the scene. The bell rings, and they just all get up and leave, and we're just standing there on stage. And I remember afterwards talking to him about it and trying to tell my dad that, like,
Hey, Dad, thanks for not embarrassing me out there.
well, I said to him, you don't have to say everything that comes into your head. And that's who he was.
Yeah.
He was a unique person. You always knew where you stood with him.
Yeah.
And, people come up to me to this day and they said, I met your father and, I said, could you give me 5 minutes of your time? He gave me an hour, and whatever. But like, you got to know him very fast. And in this day and age right now, and I think that parts of me are very much like him. And I, to a fault, speak the truth as I know it. And not
good.
No, it's not so good, because here's the reality, as we all know, not everyone wants to hear the truth.
That's true.
Or is it
prepared to hear.
appropriate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think like you nailed it by saying like it's kind of a pattern of nowadays. Like, so sometimes like they'll have me on a thing and they'll be like, what do you think about this women's movement? And I'm like, why are you asking me on like Access Hollywood, where I'm like host? Like, it's not for me to be talking about. Or like on The View, they'll like literally put up like a video of something that happened that went viral, and then all 5 of those ladies will share what they think about it. But to be honest, and not to make it sound like I'm attacking The View or anything, but like, I don't need to hear their opinion about this. Like, it's, it's a monkey being shown magic tricks on YouTube. I don't need to hear Rosie O'Donnell's take on that. Like, it's just fun, and it is what it is. We don't have to like get into some rant about zoos, and like sometimes just, it's things are things.
Yeah, I'm talking about more just like in life, when someone's like, hey man, what do you think of me? You don't have to say, well, I think you're incredibly delusional and self-consumed and you're really predictable, and you only hang out with people that are going to further your career. Like, you don't have to. There's another that may be the truth.
Sure.
You just described the whole entire Los Angeles comedy.
Well, but also I think what I'm hearing, or at least what I agree with especially, is that people are like, man, I'm just being honest. Like, that makes them exempt from kindness or empathy or something. Like, I'm just keeping it real. Yeah, but you could also keep it real while just being kind. Couldn't you keep it real by being a little bit more delicate, or a little, you're like I'm just keeping it 100. It's like, no, you're kind of being a dick, and nobody asked for you to keep it 100. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's a really crazy fine line, because we're about to get very spiritual here. If I were to say that to you, and I don't really know you, and obviously all those things that I just said aren't you, I can tell that it's not you. You don't feel like a delusional, self-consumed person.
He's not.
But you do need to
Nailed
fucking
it.
shave. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Hey, you sound like my mom.
Exactly. But I think if I were to say that to you, I would be giving into my ego in terms of I need for you to hear how I
Yeah.
view you.
Yeah.
And there are other ways to go about it. That may be my truth,
Sure.
but nobody wins if I say that. Now, on the other hand, I personally love it when people are honest with me. Like when, comics, when they see me do a set and they come up and they're honest with me, there's nothing better because then I get to learn, I get to grow.
Yeah.
Tell me like, bro, what are you doing up there? You just apologize to the audience. You were rushing your story, whatever it is. Tell me. That's
constructive, yeah.
bro. That joke is hacky. I know that you think it's funny and it's getting a laugh, but whatever. Tell me, save me the time.
Sure.
I don't, you got to extract your ego. I'll take a note from anyone because to be artistic and to enter that field, you have to be willing to make a fool of yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that.
But there's a difference between a note and saying, hey, don't do that. And don't do, like, you like that kind of, but if someone's just like, oh, Jeremy Piven sucks at stand up, like, that's not constructive. You're just being a jerk.
Right.
Like, and so I think that's the fine line is like,
that's the difference between a comic and an audience member talking to you afterwards.
Well, and also sometimes people are just very insensitive. They think people aren't humans. Like that, like say, what's that old expression? Like, I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care. Like if I'm not going to hear it from someone who's just shouting at me, who's a stranger, who's coming from a place of like judgment, is kind of the same idea as like when someone comes up to you and says, hey, that first joke you did is great. Second one, like you need to work past that joke. I don't think that's a joke that you're going to want to do when you're 5 years in. I think that's something that you're going to.
But do you still have people that are coming up to you and
people give me notes all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. The ones I like the best are when someone's like, hey, I've heard something similar to this. And then I'll just scrap it. I don't need any evidence. I don't go look up like what was their take. If it's similar, I drop it because I'm so afraid someone's going to watch me do the bit, not tell me, and then go online like, oh, he did a joke, like he stole this joke. It's like, no, you've got to tell me because I would get it out of you're not helping me by just gossiping about me or telling other people.
Right.
You're helping me by saying, hey,
exactly.
you got to get that joke out of there because it's too similar to such.
Yeah,
Like,
that's like saying, hey, bro, you got something on your face. Oh, thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for being straight with
Yeah,
me.
exactly.
Like I
was touring with that thing on my face.
Yeah, I'm about to go to Beirut and do some comedy, and a buddy of mine called me up, and he said, "Listen, they love you out here. You're going to blow up in the Middle East." And I was like, "I don't want to blow up in the Middle East." And so I put it into my act, and someone came up to me and goes, "Look, just so you know, that is viewed as hacky."
Okay.
And the whole blow up and
Yeah,
the
or
whatever.
I'm killing. Yeah,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, like Indian comics will say that, or not Indian, but like who is it? I'm trying to think what nationality it'd be. I don't want to get in trouble. But he'd be like, what was it, the Maz Jobrani? And they had like a whole tour of guys.
I know the tour.
And I can't remember the
watched
tour.
I can't remember the name of it right now.
But they did a lot of those kind
something
of
of
jokes.
mass destruction.
Yeah, it was something like that. But
Okay.
like they did a lot of those kind of jokes.
Yeah.
And
So-
I think people were like, he's allowed to do it because he's that nationality, but also
yeah, but him and all of them have like kind of retired that perspective.
Right,
Too. Like
exactly.
Ahmed and all them.
So, I mean, the irony is that's a real story that happened to me. And yet this guy was, said to me, look, just so you know, and then it's up to me to go, oh, okay, I want to stick with it. Or, you know what? I don't need to.
sure.
Right.
And then the set that you guys saw, I just went up there and just tried a bunch of new stuff to start, which is really risky because you want to get them from the jump.
Sure.
And I went up with nothing, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And then had to find something. So that's how you grow.
Yeah.
You got to be.
I did notice that you did say the thing that we talked about in Florida where you were like, you probably think, what am I doing here? And I feel like that is the best way to grab them where they're like, yeah, we know him from a totally different medium.
Right.
Like, it's like if I'm like just coming out on the baseball field, people are like, we know him from that show, but why is he playing baseball? That is their thought process.
Well, the odd thing about you is you do look identical to Chris Bryant.
yeah, well,
Do you know Chris Bryant?
Chris,
of course I know Chris Bryant.
Doesn't he look like fucking Chris Bryant? No?
I thought that when I first saw Chris Bryant come up, I was like, this guy's kind of Jeffish. For sure.
I look like a lot of skinny white guys, It's kind of our thing.
Absolutely.
No, but
I have a whole running gag about Chris Bryant, and that's like, I'm like,
I'm
Jeff
trying to
dates
get Chris Bryant
very
on
beautiful women.
the podcast, and
Oh, I would love to meet him.
because Aaron's got a gag that we can't talk about.
Oh,
Yeah,
We'll
please
talk about
don't.
it after.
okay. Should we just talk about a bunch of stuff we can't talk about?
Well, no, that
Yeah,
one.
that's the name of the next
that one
podcast.
he doesn't want to talk about.
Yeah, no. I'm very mean.
Makes me so happy.
I'm going to throw the first pitch out when the Cubs play the White Sox coming up on May 11th.
Nice. Are you gonna
That's
sing?
great.
You get to sing 7th inning stretch.
I do sing
Yeah.
a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
That's
It's
gonna be
fun.
great.
And then I'm going to be playing the Laugh Factory the 10th through the 13th. Can I say that?
Yeah,
the
of course.
Chicago Laugh
yeah,
Factory.
yeah, absolutely. We'll plug whatever.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. I'm
So you get
pretty
to throw out the
excited.
first pitch, and then you're doing the weekend at the Laugh Factory.
Yes.
That's gonna
Did
be
you
a
go to
great
any of the
weekend.
World Series games?
I didn't. I was, oh my God, I was filming the movie with Jamie Foxx, the All-Star Weekend movie. And the night they won, we were filming at One Oak, and we wrapped. And because of the rain delay, I thought it ended hours ago. I run down the street and to Rock and Riley's,
Yeah.
and got to watch the
Nice.
last out.
That's great.
on the
Good,
street,
good.
and there were a
That
bunch of
rain was
Chicago
for you.
guys there. We were all drinking, and it was incredible.
I
and-
watched the whole series with our friend Kay Quigley.
Oh, amazing!
And so, like, that 7th inning stretch,
Amazing.
it was like when the rain delay was happening, we were both terrible messes.
Wait, wasn't Kate? Was she rooting for the Cubs?
No, she's from Cleveland.
That's
she
what I was
rooting
gonna
for the
say.
Indians.
Yeah, I thought that.
And, like, it was fine. The first 6 games, we went to different bars. No one
Yeah.
cared. And then on the 7th game, for some reason, it was just filled wall to wall with Cubs fans. She's the only person wearing any Indians anything.
That's hilarious.
And so she felt a little under attack because, like, at the point when the Indians started winning, she was cheering,
Oh,
as
yeah.
you should. And all the fans were just like looking at her, and you're like, everyone's going to be
Like,
fine.
We're lucky she's a hot blonde with a great body, or else we would be very upset at that Indians fan. Because they would have ripped her apart if that was a guy rooting for the Indians at a Cubs bar.
As a Cubs fan watching it, you're just like, I don't have any hate for the Indians,
I
nor
would
can
look
I
at Kate
hate
and be
them
like,
at
"How?
all.
All right, you're Kate Quigley.
Yeah,
I'm gonna allow it because I think you're gorgeous."
She's the best.
I love her.
She's like one of the guys. I've been friends with her for a while, and like, you know, when I first started getting into it, because she's a comic and she you know is doing what I want to do, I'd be like, hey, can I pitch you some stuff? And she's like, can you stop saying pitch me some stuff? It just you know, just do it. You know, I was like, I'm sorry.
That's so funny.
No, but she's the best.
She's great.
She's
We
great.
love Kate.
Yeah.
She's a little flaky. That's one thing I'll say. Well, I try to like hang out, and then Kate, I'm about to set it to her face all the time. I'll be like, "Hey, Kate, let's hang out." She's like, "Ah, let's do it." And then she'll be like, "Sorry, I just got this like meeting." She's supposed to do this podcast like 3 times, and then she'll be like, "Hey, can you do my thing tomorrow?" And I'm like that, and then she's like, "Oh, sorry, I'm actually out of town." I was like, "Why would you ask me to do a thing?" Even about you, I go, "Hey, I'm working with Jeremy, and I know that you know Jeremy Piven. I'm going to be coming in on that Thursday and do some spots on those shows to hopefully, you know, get people to see me for my weekend." I go, "Tell Jeremy, you know, that we're friends." And she goes, "Okay." Then when I get to the airport, I text her, I was like, "Hey, did you tell Jeremy we're pals or whatever?" And she goes, "No, I forgot, but don't worry. He's really nice." And I was like, "Wow, you're easily my most reliable friend."
But in her defense, she did reach out.
Oh, she did?
And
Oh,
said,
said
yeah,
she
Jeff's
did.
going to be on the show with you. I was like, oh, cool.
That's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, but she's also, let's be honest, she's the hardest working person out there.
Oh, yeah, for
she's
sure.
always
I
on
love
the
her to
move.
death.
She, you know, the reason why she doesn't show up, but she's not a bad person. She just
She needs an assistant is what she needs. She's
Yeah.
got too
That's
much
exactly
crap going
why.
on. Yeah, so she's trying to do all the things,
But
and
she's-
only has time to do some of the things.
and she's also like any chance she has to get on stage, she does.
But she's
And
an
so-
Indians fan, so fuck her. You know, that's what I say. Who needs her?
Wow.
Who needs her? That's what I say.
It's a tough.
Cleveland. The Indians
The
need her.
Indians needed her, yeah. Here's the question I was going to ask you that you don't
Yeah.
have to answer. When you go out, when we went out that one night, everyone knew who you were. The second you walked in, everyone knew who you were. What do you know, let's say they give you a nice dinner or whatever. What do you tip? Do you tip percent? Like, because you know that's
Well-
going to be a reflection of you.
Well, you know what's interesting is, first of all, I'm a caveman, so I'm terrible with math. So I have never even, and this is a true story, I've never even tried to attempt to figure out what 15% of that is. I always just go 20 or above, and just figure those numbers out. And yet I was voted one of the worst tippers in the United States, and I've never tipped below 20%.
How's that possible?
I don't know. I guess I was like, wait a minute, Americans must tip 40%.
Who's doing this research?
Exactly.
Well, most of the research is photo documented. So it's like Eli Manning got like, or not Eli Manning, who's the, Drew Brees. I think it was Drew Brees, because I got a notification about it like 5 years ago or something like that. But it was like he ordered this large takeout order. It was like $350 or something like that. But then when the person came, he just put a zero, slashed it through and said thanks, and then like took the food into his party or his family or whatever whoever's eating that much food. And then the person immediately like took a photo of it and tweeted like he's a shit tipper. And in his defense, he was like, I don't know, it's takeout, or it was like a to-go order. I didn't think we tipped on to-go orders. I didn't get service. Nobody was, but people just lit them up because they
So
were.
you want to be famous.
Yeah.
And I know
Be
that
careful
like
what you wish for.
Tiger Woods has a bunch that people
Really,
will
because
photograph.
no civilians ever not tipped.
I saw
Yeah,
this.
that's the thing.
Steelers
Oh,
guy.
hold
on.
Exactly.
Which is the truth of that's what sucks about it is that now you're like you have to be this great tipper because they presume
And
you
no one's
must be
gonna
a
do-
billionaire.
Like if you go buy a coffee for $5 and you're like, oh, here's a 20, keep the change. No one's gonna go on Twitter and be like, you won't believe what happened.
They'll tell that story to their friends.
Right.
Yeah, but never online.
No, you got to go deep like Johnny Depp and give someone 40 grand.
Yeah. If you want that publicity for sure. Yeah, because like it was funny, like Larry David, he's like 100%. I said 100%. But that's because people know how much Larry makes. He was like, before they knew, like when I was just writing on Seinfeld and all that, like, no, I've, goose egg. But that's a strange pressure of being like a famous person. It's such a weird pressure that's so unjust, I think.
I don't even think about it because I just never tip below 20. So I just figure we'll be all right.
This is good. Yeah. Well, if you tip $4, or no, I'm sorry, if you have a $4 coffee and you tip $1, what is that percentage wise?
25.
25%.
Oh wait, never mind.
Yeah.
I thought it was higher than that.
That was higher.
Well, I was just thinking like some people will tip like, they'll like $6 or something and they only like got like a couple lattes or something. I'm always like, that's a huge tip if you think about it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they should get credit for that. I tip
I'm
big when it's small. I tip
I'm
big
just-
when it's a small amount.
I'm just glad they just didn't name me No Tip and Piven.
That would be
Oh, man.
quite
Yeah,
a...
They missed an open layup on
yeah,
that
we
one.
might need to
Fuck.
cut that out because
Yeah,
that
they'll
will
just
be
take
people
it.
like that's
They
a
just
good
create a
name.
That's
hashtag.
right. That's my new intro.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a fake Twitter account tomorrow of some idiot who listens to this is like, oh, no tip and pivot. You're like, no, don't run with it. It's great.
Wow.
You I'll share the story before we get out of here of the when I was a valet at Hotel 1000. You were staying at Hotel 1000. This must have been 2007, 2006, or 2005. One of those 3 years. Because that's the only time I worked there. And we would get celebrities that stayed there, but we would like never really see them. We'd see them just if they're coming to their car service, or their cab, or their bus. So like Paul Simon came through, and we would always be like, oh, Ron Jeremy, for example, like he tipped me like $20, and all I did was hail a cab. All they did was like hail a cab, and Ron Jeremy came out. He's like all like kind of surly looking because it's super early in the
Jonathan.
morning. And he pulls out a knot of cash out of his pocket and had a rubber band on it, not like a money clip or anything. And he goes like this, thanks. All I did was hail a cab for him. He goes, thanks. And he licks his thumb and he peels off a 20.
Don't take that money.
Yeah, and I remember thinking,
Yeah.
I know where that thumb has been. And this guy just licked it
I know
before
where
he
that
came.
mouth has been. You don't want it.
Yeah, but it was like that was a fun thing, right? So we have Jeremy Piven at the hotel, and we're all like, "Oh my god, this is pretty cool." Blah blah. Blah. And you came down, and our boss is giving us this lecture. You've got to treat famous people, because this represents the whole hotel. It doesn't matter if it's the concierge or the restaurant or whatever. It's a representation. And we're like, yeah, why would we be mean to anyone? Like we're not just jerks to other people, but he's like. Spare us the lecture. And so you come down and you're holding a bunch of stuff, and our boss is standing in between you and the door you're trying to get out of. And he stands in front and he goes, "Can I help you with anything?" And you're like, "Yeah, the door." And just that sentence, and then you looked at us like, obviously, like just, and he was so like, "Oh yeah, of course," because he was like so befuddled and like starstruck. But for us, we're like, yes, someone made fun of our boss. It like made us feel so good.
You know what's funny is that I didn't think my first thought isn't starstruck because I don't think with that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was probably so obvious because knowing me,
Yeah, that's
I'm
what it
a
was. You were
terrible
holding a lot of
packer.
crap.
So
Yeah.
it must have been just like a huge like Lotsie where I had like 11 bags piled on top and I just needed a little bit of help.
Yeah,
So
someone to
it's
hold the
funny
door.
how your perspective is like, yeah, I'm a celebrity, kiss my ass. It's like,
No, that wasn't it.
oh.
It was literally that he was in your way and then asking you if he could do anything.
Duh.
Yeah, it's so
Right.
obvious. It had nothing to do with your
Right.
celebrity.
No, I wanna carry
It
these
just was
11
funny
bags.
that he was lecturing
Kick
us
the door
about
open.
helping you, and he's being a nuisance in your way, and you're like, yeah, you could help me look, my hands are full. Like it's so obvious that like, it made us laugh so hard.
My favorite is when people come up to me and they go, I just have to tell you, I have never seen anything you've ever done. I'm just like, oh my God, I was just wondering, what are your viewing habits? And now that's so, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is amazing. What a day. Yay. Like, that's not interesting to me. Thank you for coming up. And they're like, so listen, let me ask you something, Ari. What? Hold on. You just said what?
Right.
Don't be weird, Ari. Well, you just keep calling. You said you don't watch my stuff, but you just called me by my character's name.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Well, yeah, you did.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Ari, you just did it again. No, I didn't.
Oh my God.
Well, I get that after shows all the time, so much that I've written it in my acts just so people will stop doing it because it does hurt my feelings. People, literally, it's usually beautiful women. They'll come up afterwards and like I'm selling CDs, I'm just shaking people's hands.
Yeah.
And in like clockwork, like once a show, someone will say, usually a young person, will be like, I'll be honest, I've never heard of you before, but you were really funny.
Right.
And it's like, couldn't you have just said I was funny?
Yeah.
Why did it start from some snotty place of you've never heard? I'm not wandering around going, everyone knows
Right.
who I like. They feel that need to be like, oh, I'm not one of your groupies. It's like, I don't have groupies. I don't know who you're referring to, but like they think that they have to like give you that
Tear
knockdown
you down before they
first.
lift you up.
I've never seen any of your stuff, but then I watched it and like Terry Bradshaw gets it all the time. Oh, I hated you growing up. I was a Cowboys fan, hated you. Because they think he's going to hear, oh, he hated me because I was so good at football that I always beat the Cowboys. But all he hears is a stranger being like,
I hate you.
I hated you. Yeah, it's like such a horrible, I imagine that stuff just gets worse as you get more successful.
Well, I think I could be wrong, but we're all so connected now, I mean, we're just one click away.
Yeah.
And so people want to let you know right away that they're different.
Yeah,
They're not the average whatever. So they're going to kind of put you in your place
sure.
and let you know, hey, listen, Jeff, the reality is you're not that famous, but you're
Exactly.
really funny. I just want to let you know.
They're
And
trying
then,
to-
and then also, I'm very opinionated. I have really great taste. And also just manage yourself right now. I mean, you're good and
Yeah.
you might have potential, possibly, but you're not that.
Yeah. It's like, I
There's
don't
a
need you
whole
to
thing
take me
going on.
down a
Yeah.
peg. I don't need you to take me down a peg. Life's doing a great job of
Right.
that on all of us. We don't need to be
that's
taken
why, like,
down.
why do people pay to go to amusement parks and be freaked out? Like, I'm freaked out by life.
Yeah.
I don't need to pay to like, we're gonna drop you 30 stories and you're gonna throw up on yourself. No, that's not right for me.
Well, life's
I'm
kind
good. I'm good. Thank you though.
Not sure when we're putting this up, but you got anything you want to plug or anything? So I know that you're gonna. My buddy
plug
Justin
Chicago?
Ruppel's going with you to Beirut. Real
Really?
sweet guy. Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
Amazing. Yeah,
that trip looks great. Who's all on that show?
I don't know how many of your listeners are going to be in Beirut, Jeff.
Yeah, well, but we don't need
Show is a travel show.
We definitely don't need to plug all that. Yeah, and I've been all over.
We're
the
going to
world.
be the first Americans there. So we're currently bombing Syria, and we're going to Beirut. And then
gonna be interesting.
from there, I'm going to go see my buddy David Hay fight. He's going to fight, and if he wins, he'll probably get a shot at Anthony Joshua. He's been a good friend of mine. He former heavyweight champion of the world, really great guy. I don't know why I'm plugging his fight. That's a little awkward.
Yeah. If you guys want to watch that, Jeremy might be there watching.
And from there, I'm going to go to the Laugh Factory in Chicago, and I'm going to go. I'm just going to keep grinding and
Moon
learning.
Tower, right?
What's that?
Was it Moon Tower? You said you're gonna.
Yeah, well, yeah. He might be in Austin this weekend with me, but I don't know if
I would love to.
Yeah.
We talked about that. That would be so much fun to go
Yeah,
out
it's gonna
there.
be awesome.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep getting up and grinding and learning.
Love it.
And Bubba, we've officially put him to sleep, so that means
Dude.
we're
Twice.
on to something.
He's so cute. But although he's snoring a lot less.
He went through
loud.
a journey. He was
Yeah.
snoring, then he was up investigating the couch. And doing all
Yeah,
kinds
he's
of
all
stuff.
over. I love
Yeah,
when
he's the
dogs are here.
best.
Aaron, you want to plug anything, bud?
No.
Just Aaron Marsh, Twitter.
Oh, at Fine Headed Mickey.
There you go. Oh, and the Hidden Mickey account. Tony, what are you plugging, baby?
Hi, Mom.
Oh, what a guy.
I want to say hi to his mom too. Hey, what's up, Tony's mom?
Look at this. Actually, let's get a photo of that.
Oh, Bubba's officially on the
Bubba's
podcast.
on the pod, dude.
I know. We almost mic'd you when you were
Definitely
snoring there,
our
bud.
Cutest guest right here. Thanks for listening, guys. If you're watching this on Patreon, we appreciate your
we do.
subscription and we appreciate your loyalty. And we love you guys. This is impossible.
Do I get
without
like
you.
a jet ski or something for this? How does
Yeah,
this
you
work?
get a jet ski and
We'll
an
work it out.
appearance fee.
Yeah, we'll
love it.
$50,000.
Thank you guys for having me on.
If you can break into Jeff's garage, you can have a fat scooter.
Yeah, and if you want one of my Jeeps, just steal that.
I don't know if that's code for something, but it sounds creepy.
Someone stole a scooter out of my garage.
Yeah.
the homeless.
That's
I'm
innuendo.
guessing he's homeless. I don't know. Maybe he's a rich guy, but someone broke into my garage and stole stuff out of
He's
it.
ribbon
right.
Jeff.
Ugh. Thanks for listening, guys. We love you. Peace.
Friendship.
How great was that episode? I bet you're thinking that episode was so great. I should send the brilliant people that make Jeff Dye's Friendship podcast treats or money or gifts of some sort, or pins or baseball cards or hair supplies or toiletries, or food or any kind of thing. Well, you can. Just go to, our social medias and ask us for an address, and we'll send you, or you can send us stuff. We love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed today's episode.